Discover the incredible moment a millionaire transformed a mother's pain into heartwarming joy in the heart of Maplewood, where sunflowers danced in the gentle breeze, a mother's struggle echoed in the laughter of blooming dreams. Sarah, a 35-year-old single mom, stood in the local diner, aprons smeared with syrup and hope. Each day, she juggled the weight of long shifts while raising her vibrant daughter, Lily, and her sweet, innocent son, Jake. With each clatter of plates and orders shouted over sizzling bacon, Sarah poured her heart into her work, fighting against the suffocating whispers from neighbors who saw her as just another statistic. The annual fundraiser. The smell of barbecue filled the air like the warmth of community spirit, but Sarah felt the heat of judgment too. Old friends chatted and shared laughter, while others cast sidelong glances. Lily, bright-eyed and ambitious, overheard the murmurs about her mother's struggles, and her heart ached every time someone said, "Look at Sarah, just treading water." With every cheer and supportive clap, the distance between mother and daughter seemed to ripple like the surface of a pond disturbed by a stone's throw. As the sun dipped, casting its golden rays across the crackling grill, Sarah's resolve faltered. Would her dreams for her children slip away with the laughter of the crowd? Suddenly, an unexpected presence cut through the heaviness of the evening. There stood David, a millionaire from the city, drawn in by the aroma of fresh apple pie. With curiosity, he watched Sarah engage with patrons, her genuine spirit carving warmth through the chill of gossip. Compelled by her story of dedication, he approached Sarah, a spark of recognition lighting his eyes. In that moment, amidst the hustle of townsfolk, he offered Lily a scholarship to an elite school, a golden ticket that glimmered with possibilities. Gasps filled the air. A wave of tension washed over the crowd, whispers twisted into conversations about privilege and unfair advantage. The once lively chatter became heavy with judgment. Could this generous gift help heal wounds or widen the rift? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Torn between pride and desperate need, Sarah's heart raced. She glanced at Lily, who glared at the ground, frustration evident on her face. "Mom, this is a chance," she whispered so only Sarah could hear. But was accepting help a betrayal of their struggle? As the night grew darker and the barbecue smoke swirled, Sarah stood frozen, emotions entwined like the strands of her heart. Would she grab this lifeline and ignite new dreams for her daughter? Or would she let fear of judgment chain her down? The weight of the town's eyes pressed on her, each gaze heavy with expectations, leaving a lingering doubt. In that moment, as the stars began to appear, Sarah's decision lingered like the fading daylight, pulsing with the hope of a change that could elevate her family from the boundaries of their small town. Would she dare to embrace compassion and create a new path for her children? Or would she hold steady and risk losing the bond they had fought to define? The barbecue flames flickered under the starlit sky, casting eerie shadows on the faces of the crowd. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest as she battled her swirling thoughts. David stood there, hopeful yet uncertain, waiting for her response. The scholarship dangled like a ripe fruit just out of reach, a chance to pull her family from the depths of suffocating routine. "Mom, you have to say yes." Lily's voice broke through the fog. Her eyes glimmered with desperation. "I want this. I need this." "Lily, it's not that simple," Sarah murmured, feeling the eyes of the townsfolk stinging her back. They watched, mouths tight, heads shaking in judgment. She could almost hear their silent commentary, typical Sarah, asking for a handout. Her stomach twisted with fear. What would this mean for her little family? And what about the whispers of pity that would surely follow? Jake, sensing the tension, clutched his mother's hand tightly. "Mom, I believe in you," he said, his innocent voice a balm on her frayed nerves. The trust in his eyes was a reminder of the sacrifices she had made, the late nights spent balancing bills, the evenings filled with stories of hope. Just then, David stepped closer, breaking through the noise of uncertainty. "Sarah," he said gently, "this isn't just about you. It's about Lily's future. It's an opportunity she deserves. The struggles you've faced don't define your worth. Accepting help doesn't mean giving up. It means believing in what she can achieve." His words struck a deep chord within her. The clamor around them softened, the laughter and chatter fading into the background as she focused on the piercing honesty in his eyes. She inhaled sharply, her resolve buckling under the weight of truth. Tension swirled around her: fear, guilt, hope. She had always told her children that they could achieve anything if they worked hard enough. But what example was she setting by refusing help, when it was exactly that help that could propel them forward? As if sensing her internal struggle, Lily stepped forward, her small hands clammy but her heart steady. "Mom, I want to be great. I want to make you proud," she urged. "I don't want to tread water like everyone thinks we are. I want to swim." Just then, a hushed silence fell over the crowd. Sarah felt every gaze resting on her. In that instant, she realized it was not just her decision. It was about the hopes and dreams of her children. Slowly, she raised her gaze to meet David's, the stirrings of empowerment igniting within her. "Okay," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "I'll accept the scholarship." The crowd erupted into a mix of cheers and murmurs, some supportive, others doubtful. Relief washed over Sarah as an overwhelming sense of possibility unfolded before her. Embracing that moment was like stepping into the light after being cloaked in shadow for too long. But as soon as the cheers rang, a bitter truth swept over her. The acceptance might ripple through the town, but would it truly bring them closer to a new beginning or simply widen the divide? With her heart still racing, Sarah felt the weight of the world shift, but fear curled at the edges of her thoughts. What doors would this open, and what consequences would follow? The night stretched into silence as the first few stars twinkled overhead, and in that dim light, Sarah's decision seemed both momentous and daunting. As she held her children close, dawn's first light on the horizon promised change, but it also whispered of uncertainty. What lay ahead for Sarah and her family? Would this act of courage bring them together or unravel the fabric they had fought to weave? The days that followed felt surreal to Sarah. The scholarship announcement spread through the town like wildfire. Conversations shifted, and she could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on her. At the grocery store, as she pushed her cart down the aisles, she overheard snippets of talk. "Did you hear about Sarah? She's taking that scholarship. Bet she thinks she's better than the rest of us now." Even in the familiar spaces, where she used to feel safe, there was an unfamiliar distance. Yet, amid the chatter full of mixed emotions, her children radiated warmth and hope. "Mom, can we go to the school to see where I'll be studying?" Lily had asked one evening, her eyes sparkling with possibilities. Sarah smiled, the gentleness of her daughter easing some of her worry. "Sure, we can do that." Every day leading up to their visit was full of questions from Lily. "Will I have friends? Will the teachers like me? Can I join the soccer team?" Each question met with Sarah's encouragement, igniting Lily's excitement. On the scheduled day, Sarah stood outside the school with her children, the building looming before them like a castle promising adventure and education. The doors were wide open, welcoming them into an unfamiliar world. As they entered, Sarah felt a knot of anxiety twist in her stomach. She recognized the smell of fresh paint and the silence that spoke volumes. So many hopes and dreams were wrapped up in this place. What if Lily didn't fit in? What if it was too much? Looking down at Jake, she could see the same questioning reflection in his curious eyes. "Does this mean we are leaving our old school, Mom?" he asked, his voice a mix of apprehension and intrigue. "Yes, buddy," she replied softly, her own heart racing. "This is a new beginning for all of us." As they wandered the halls, they passed classrooms filled with laughter and learning. Each room peaked with potential, and there was a palpable energy that wrapped around them. But then, they rounded a corner and spotted a group of kids tossing a soccer ball. Some were loud and boisterous, while others watched quietly. Lily's gaze lingered. She bit her lip, uncertainty creeping in. "Maybe I should just wait," she said, her excitement deflating like a punctured balloon. "No," Sarah urged, kneeling down to meet her daughter's eyes. "This is your moment. Don't be afraid to join in. You deserve to be here." That flicker of courage ignited something in Lily. Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer to the group. Sarah and Jake watched, hearts pounding in unison. "Hey, can I play too?" Lily's voice rang out, barely above a whisper but holding a strong note of determination. For a moment, the world around them froze. Then, one of the boys tossed the ball to her, and just like that, Lily was in running, laughing, and completely absorbed in the game. Sarah's heart swelled. "Look at her!" she exclaimed, turning to Jake. "I'm proud of her," Jake replied, his wide-eyed admiration palpable. Watching her daughter, Sarah felt something shift within her. This wasn't just about acceptance or scholarship, it was about courage, about stepping into the unknown. And for the first time in weeks, she felt lighter, freer. As they left the school that day, Lily's laughter ringing in her ears, Sarah understood they were carving a new path, one not just for Lily, but for themselves as a family. Yet as new possibilities glittered on the horizon, a question loomed large. Would this choice bring the unity they sought, or would the challenges ahead begin to tear them apart? With the echoes of Lily's laughter still echoing in her heart, Sarah found herself staring at the path ahead with invigorated hope but also with a twinge of fear. What truly awaited them beyond the gate? The next morning, the sun broke over the horizon with a golden glow that promised new beginnings. Sarah awoke feeling refreshed but anxious, wondering how to navigate the day ahead. It was Monday, the start of a new week, and Lily was already buzzing with excitement about her first day at her new school. "Can I wear my new dress?" Lily called from her bedroom. "Of course." "It's perfect," Sarah replied, trying to match her daughter's enthusiasm while keeping her own anxieties at bay. As they prepared for the day, Sarah's thoughts drifted to the new scholarship. It felt like a weight pressing down on her, responsibility cloaked in opportunity. She poured Lily's cereal, her hands trembling slightly as she wondered if she had made the right choice. At breakfast, Jake was intent on his drawing, but every few seconds, he peeked at Lily, who was twirling and bouncing with excitement. "You're going to be amazing, Lils," he said, his eyes wide with admiration. "Thanks, Jake." Lily beamed, her confidence shimmering like the morning sun. Once they arrived at school, Sarah felt a tidal wave of anxiety crash over her. "Okay, remember, if it feels hard, you just keep going," she told Lily, kneeling down again, searching for that brave spark she had seen before. Lily nodded, determination coloring her cheeks. "I can do this, Mom." As they entered the schoolyard, Sarah noticed other parents gathered, chatting and laughing. She forced a smile, but inside, doubt gnawed at her. Were they sizing her up? Did they already judge her based on her choice? Lily seemed unaware of the scrutiny, rushing forward toward a cluster of kids. "I can join the soccer team. I can do it," she declared. Sarah watched with a swelling heart, wishing she could be as fearless as her daughter. Yet with each cheer they aimed at Lily, deep down, her insecurities dredged up ugly thoughts. Why had she placed them in contention with other families? What if the kindness of her neighbors turned cold? As the bell rang and children rushed inside, Sarah stood frozen, torn between pride and fear. Suddenly, a hand touched her shoulder. "Hey, you must be Sarah." It was a woman she recognized vaguely from town. "I'm Ellen, Lily's teacher." "Oh. Yes, nice to meet you," Sarah replied, surprised by the warmth in Ellen's smile. "I've heard wonderful things about Lily already. She's a bright light." Sarah's heart fluttered. "Thank you," I hope she feels like she belongs. She will. We all want to see her shine, said Ellen. As the conversation continued, Sarah felt some of her trepidation ease. Ellen's kindness reminded her that, perhaps, she wasn't alone in this. After a quick wave goodbye, she watched as Lily bounced into the classroom, eager and bright. Her heart surged with pride. Maybe this was their moment, a chance for both her kids to break free from the shadows of doubt. But just as she began to feel hopeful, a familiar face from the grocery store emerged from the crowd. Martha, that woman who had whispered about Sarah being too good for the rest. Why don't you join us for coffee sometime? Martha said with a forced smile, her eyes scrutinizing Sarah. Sure, I'll think about it, Sarah replied, her stomach twisting. Martha's glances were laden with judgment. The intrusion of her insecurities returned, threatening to undo the peace she'd just felt. As Sarah walked away, she couldn't shake the weight of Martha's words. Would she ever escape the whispers? How would she keep her children safe from judgment? Stepping into her car, Sarah breathed deeply, reminding herself that they had stepped into a new adventure, one filled with promise and peril. With Lily embarking on this journey, Sarah knew the stakes were high. But deep down, she felt a brewing desire to confront and break through these barriers. She started the engine, a thought buzzing in her mind. What if she turned the tide and made others understand? What if she could bridge the divides instead of retreat? As she pulled out of the parking lot, thoughts of a plan began to take root in her mind. Little did she know, in a few hours, her life would twist in unexpected ways, leading her into a confrontation that would transform her family's journey. The hours between drop-off and pickup felt like an eternity for Sarah. She drove aimlessly through town, her mind a swirl of thoughts. She promised herself not to be influenced by tight-lipped neighbors or flickering judgments, but the weight on her shoulders felt heavier than ever. She stopped at a cafe, its quaint charm beckoning her. The place was brimming with mothers chatting over steaming cups of coffee, their laughter wrapping around the room like a warm embrace. Sarah hesitated at the door, but she pushed through. With every step, her heartbeat quickened, uncertainty bubbling inside her. With a deep breath, she queued up, placing her order just as her eyes landed on a familiar face, Ellen. The teacher was seated by the window, her own cup in hand, engrossed in a book. Sarah considered turning around, retreating to the safety of her car, but a sudden rush of courage surged through her. What would Lily want her to do? Mind if I join you? Sarah asked, her voice surprising herself with its steadiness. Ellen looked up, her face breaking into a welcoming smile. Of course. I'd love to chat. As they smiled at each other, Sarah felt the tight hold of her insecurities begin to loosen. They discussed school, Lily's talents, and Ellen's vision for the class. The conversation flowed easily, and there was warmth in Ellen's words that soothed Sarah's anxious heart. Ellen leaned in, her expression shifting to one of sincerity. I know it can feel daunting being part of a new community. But every school has its challenges. You'll find your circle. Just stay true to yourself. Thank you, Sarah replied, grateful for the encouragement. I just want my kids to feel accepted. They will, Ellen assured her. You're setting a wonderful example for them. And trust me, kids are more resilient than we give them credit for. Just then, the bell above the cafe door jingled, drawing both their attention. In strode a tall figure with an air of confidence, a well-known local millionaire, Tom Kingsley. He was a charming man who often spoke at community events. Sarah's heart raced as he caught Ellen's gaze, a flicker of recognition passing between them. Hey, Ellen. Care for a chat? Tom called out, striding over. He turned his attention to Sarah, extending his hand. And you must be Lily's mom. I've heard great things. His smile was like a beacon, illuminating the doubts that clung to Sarah. They exchanged pleasantries, and Ellen turned the conversation towards community support initiatives. Sarah's been helping Lily transition into school. She's doing an amazing job. Tom nodded appreciatively. Families like yours are the ones that inspire change. We need more parents willing to step up, especially those like you who dare to break barriers. Oh, I'm trying to do my best, Sarah stammered, feeling a rush of warmth at his words. Well, let us help each other then. How about we organize a community event? Something where parents can share their stories and connect? The idea struck Sarah like lightning, igniting something deep within her. I would love that, she blurted. Ellen beamed at her reaction, and Sarah suddenly felt a sense of purpose flooding her heart. As they chatted, the uncertainty she had held so tightly began to dissipate. If she could challenge her own fears, maybe she could help others do the same. The meeting wrapped up with laughter and plans, Sarah walking away with her heart lighter. Yet, as she returned to the car, a thought lingered on the edge of her mind. Martha's judgment still clung to her like a shadow. What if this newfound plan was a step towards not just helping other parents, but confronting her fears head-on? As she started the engine, a feeling of hope blossomed. What if she could finally create the community she desired? What if she could transform her own pain into something that inspired others? Little did she know, her desire to speak up would soon lead her to a moment she never could have predicted, a confrontation that would change everything. The following weeks were a whirlwind for Sarah. Excitement buzzed through her veins as she planned the community event alongside Tom and Ellen. They decided on a weekend morning in the school's gym, transforming it into a welcoming space filled with brightly colored banners, tables for sharing stories, and corners dedicated to activities for the kids. Sarah immersed herself, pouring energy into flyers and coordinating schedules, feeling more at home with each task. As the day approached, shadows crept back in. What if no one showed up? What if her neighbors referred to it as a failed experiment? In the quiet moments, those nagging thoughts tried to pull her back, but she fought against them. Each time doubt snuck in, she thought of Lily, how proud her daughter would be. Sarah's heart raced at the idea of carving out a space for families to share and connect. The morning of the event arrived. Sarah stood in front of the gym, anxiously arranging the last of the chairs, her hands shaking slightly. She watched parents trickle in, their faces a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Seeing them gave her a surge of hope. She called out greetings, kindness spilling from her lips as she recognized familiar faces and those she had yet to meet. Hey, are you okay? Ellen leaned in, her voice gentle but laced with concern. I'm good. Just trying to make sure everything goes smoothly, Sarah replied, forcing a smile. Inside, her stomach twisted with uncertainty. Tom arrived, energizing the room with his presence. Let us kick this thing off, he announced, and the gym filled with a warm round of applause. Sarah felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, a community coming together. She moved toward the stage, taking a deep breath, letting the air fill her lungs as she stepped into the spotlight. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This event is about connection, sharing our stories as parents and letting our kids know they're not alone. Her voice gained strength, and the room felt more inviting. Questions rolled in from the attendees, stories were shared, and laughter filled the air like confetti. Each moment reinforced the bond between parents, a sense of belonging that Sarah had yearned for. Yet, even amidst the joy, a hesitation lingered, the worry that someone would voice a judgment, always waiting for that moment of discord. It was then that Martha strode into the gym, her sharp gaze cutting through the atmosphere like a knife. Sarah's heart dropped, her breath catching in her throat. The murmurs hushed as Martha took her place near the back, arms crossed, a grimaced expression on her face. Is this supposed to be some kind of therapy session? Martha called out, her voice dripping with skepticism. Sarah felt the eyes of the room shift uncomfortably between her and Martha. Actually, it's about being open, Sarah managed, her voice trembling slightly but steadying. We're here to support each other. The words landed softly, but she knew Martha's judgment was like a storm cloud, ready to rain on her moment. Support? You call this support? Martha countered, gesturing dismissively. Just as Sarah prepared herself for a lengthy confrontation, she heard a small voice from the crowd. Lily had stepped forward, emboldened by her mother's example. Mom's doing her best. And I'm proud of her for trying. Don't you want to help too? The tension in the air shifted abruptly, every head turning toward the little girl whose innocence cut through the negativity. The room seemed to hold its breath, the power of Lily's words hanging in the air like magic. A flicker of realization sparked in Sarah's chest. Maybe this event wasn't just about her. Maybe it was a shared journey, one that could even extend towards healing fractured connections. As Martha hesitated, something unexpected crossed her face: recognition, perhaps regret. A beat of silence pulsed in the room. Will you join us? Sarah asked, her heart pounding against her ribcage. Martha's response lingered there, unsaid, as everyone waited with bated breath, the question hanging on the edge of change. What would Martha decide? Martha stood frozen, her expression a mix of surprise and something Sarah couldn't quite read. The gym was silent, save for the distant chirping of birds outside. It felt like the world had paused, waiting to see what would unfold. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest. She had sensed a shift, but would it be enough? The room buzzed with expectant energy, voices blending into a soft murmur. She glanced at Lily, whose little face was full of hope and determination. In that moment, they were a team. Martha, Sarah started, carefully choosing her words. I know this isn't easy for you. It's a big crowd. But we're just trying to create a space where we can connect as neighbors, as parents. That matters. Martha's mouth twitched, and Sarah felt the tiniest sliver of hope slice through her lingering anxiety. But then, without warning, Martha rolled her eyes, the confidence returning to her stance. I don't need to be part of some support group, she scoffed, her voice louder now. You all think sharing feelings is going to solve everything? I don't buy it. The room shivered slightly under the weight of her words, a ripple of discontent circulating across the gathered parents. Sarah sensed the tension rising again, and her heart felt heavy. Lily wouldn't let it linger. But it helps. She shouted, surprising even herself. Mom, it helps when you talk to other people. You always say it's good to share. Lily, please, Sarah said gently, her voice more soothing than commanding. She felt torn, both proud of her daughter's courage and anxious about the confrontation brewing. Martha paused again, visibly shaken as she faced the young girl. You think so? You think talking will change anything? Yeah. Lily nodded fervently. You should try. You might even make friends. Her words, innocent yet powerful, seemed to resonate deeply. The audience shifted in unison, a renewed wave of energy rolling through them. Some exchanged glances, murmurs emphasizing their agreement. Sarah watched as doubt crept into Martha's eyes, battling against her walls of skepticism. Maybe Martha began, her voice already growing softer. I could maybe listen for a bit. Sarah's heart leapt. That sounds great, Martha. It's about listening, and we could all use that. The sense of camaraderie tightened the bonds in the room. Martha's expression finally cracked, not fully, but enough for Sarah to see that maybe the darkness wasn't as impenetrable as she feared. Fine, Martha conceded, her tone still carrying a hint of resistance. I'll stay. But I won't make any promises. A collective sigh of relief swept through the room, and laughter bubbled over, a wave of mutual understanding breaking down barriers. As stories flowed and laughter erupted, Martha found herself leaning in more, her posture less rigid. Sarah couldn't help but smile. Each shared experience was like a thread knitting them closer together. She watched as parents connected, shared their fears, and even offered support to one another. Even Martha surprised everyone by sharing a story about her own struggles, something she had never done before. It was raw and genuine. The gym felt alive with connection, each word weaving a tighter fabric of community. But just when Sarah thought things couldn't get better, the front doors of the gym swung open with a bang, revealing a gust of cold air and a figure cloaked in a heavy coat, an unexpected newcomer who appeared ready to stir the pot. "Did I hear something about support?" he boomed. "Because I have a story for you." Sarah turned, her heart racing again, wondering who this new figure was and what impact they would have on the moment she'd finally begun to cherish. What story was coming next? The newcomer stepped further into the gym, shaking off the cold air that clung to him like an unwanted shadow. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with a face that seemed to have seen both laughter and pain. The parents stopped mid-conversation, their attention now drawn to this unexpected man, curiosity replacing the warmth of camaraderie that had just filled the space. "Who are you?" came a voice from the back, sounding both wary and intrigued. The crowd seemed to huddle together, united in their uncertainty. The man flashed a lopsided grin. "Tom," he said, letting the name hang in the air like an invitation. "I'm new in town, just moved here a few weeks ago. And trust me, I've got a wild tale or two." He opened his arms wide, as though preparing to embrace the room. A nervous chuckle rippled through the gym. Sarah exchanged glances with Lily, who looked up at her mother, both excited and anxious. There was something magnetic about Tom, a hint of mischief dancing in his eyes. Yet there was an underlying sincerity that made Sarah lean in. "All right, Tom," Sarah encouraged, feeling a shared pulse of curiosity in the crowd. "We're listening. What's your story?" He cleared his throat lightly, gaining their full attention. "You see, a year ago, my life turned upside down. I was climbing the corporate ladder, rolling in cash, and thought I had it all." He paused, the smile fading momentarily. "Then, I lost everything. My family, my home, my job. It stripped me down to the bone." A silence fell over the room. Faces reflected sympathy, breaths held tight. Tom continued, his deep voice steady, "I hit rock bottom. I faced my demons alone, and trust me, it was dark. I thought I would never be happy again. But one day, a woman at a shelter took the time to listen to me. Just listen. She didn't judge. She didn't offer solutions." Sarah could see the wheels turning in the minds of those around her. The raw vulnerability landed in their hearts, and the tension began to shift again, not unlike what had happened with Martha moments before. "I realized something important through that experience," Tom said, looking directly at Martha. "Sometimes, all we need is to be heard, to let our walls down." It was her simple act of kindness that led me to rebuild my life. I'm now a millionaire, not because of my job or investments but because I rediscovered what it means to truly connect with others. He scanned the audience, eyeing each parent, gauging their reactions. "Now, I've made it my mission to give back. I want to help others find their voices too. Sharing stories is powerful, it's healing." Martha's eyes widened as she absorbed his words. Sarah could feel the atmosphere swell with hope, each person reflecting on their own battles. Tom had struck a chord, reminding them all of the struggle and potential nestled within each individual. "Life will throw obstacles your way, but you can turn your pain into something beautiful," he continued, his voice building in strength and compassion. "So, I'm here today, not just to share my story, but to remind you that every challenge can lead to incredible transformation." The crowd erupted in applause. Sarah could feel the walls between them crumbling even more. Conversations sparked, mingling with excitement and the promise of new beginnings. Martha's face softened, a newfound light dancing in her eyes. But just as Sarah dared to feel a flicker of joy in this unfolding moment, Tom's phone rang, his expression shifting quickly as he glanced at the screen. Frowning, he stepped aside, muttering something under his breath. What was so important that it broke this magical moment? As parents turned to one another, an unspoken question hung in the air: would this be another distraction, or could it bring an even deeper twist to their shared experience? What news was on the other end of that call? Tom stepped away from the group, cradling his phone to his ear, his expression clouding with a mix of frustration and concern. Voices from the gathering faded into a dull hum as he engaged in a hurried conversation. "Yeah, I'm in the middle of something important," he whispered, fingers gripping the phone tightly. "I'll call you back. Just give me a few minutes." There was silence on the other end, a slight pause filled with tension. Tom glanced back at the crowd, who were now exchanging uneasy looks. Sarah felt a strange pang at the thought of disruption. His story had sparked something beautiful. It felt like a fragile thread of hope woven through the most mundane of lives. She couldn't help but wonder if this call would snap that thread. The crowd maintained a low buzz of anticipation as they watched Tom pace, his stature reflecting a man caught between two worlds. Finally, he slipped the phone into his pocket and took a deep breath, returning to the group with resolve. "Sorry about that," he said, his voice steady yet softer, almost as if he were re-entering a sacred space. "Let's keep this going." Before he could resume, a child's voice piped up, breaking through the tension like a ray of light. "Did you really have nothing before? How did you fix it?" A little girl, no more than 8, stood with wide eyes, her innocence drawing laughter from several parents. Tom's lips lifted into a genuine smile. "That's a great question. It all started with that woman who listened to me." He knelt down to meet her eye level, his intensity softening. "When you have nothing, people often see you as invisible. But she made me feel seen." Those tiny gestures of kindness. He paused, glancing around the room. "They build faith in humanity, you know?" Nods rippled through the crowd. It was as if they were collectively recalling small moments from their own lives, the neighbor's hello, a friend's text just when they needed it most. "I realized I needed to give that back," he continued, rising to his full height again. "It's my turn to listen. To help others feel what I felt, to not give up in their darkest hours." Suddenly, the energy shifted again. This wasn't just about Tom's transformation, it was about creating a ripple effect of kindness within their community. Sarah caught Martha's eye, her expression mirrored a spark of inspiration. "What if we started something right here?" Martha blurted out, hesitating only briefly before her heart's urgency pushed through. "A support group, maybe? We could share stories. Help one another." The chatter in the gym transformed instantly, building in momentum. Ideas flew like confetti: meetups, potlucks, even volunteering days. Sarah felt exhilaration swell in her heart. Here was an opportunity for connection, a chance to embrace one another fully. But then, just as excitement reached its peak, a shadow flickered over Tom's face again. "That call I'll explain later, but it's a bit complicated. I might need to leave suddenly." He glanced at the door, his heart clearly in turmoil. The crowd quieted, concentration focusing back on him, curiosity entwined with concern. How would they respond to this unexpected twist? What if Tom was about to change everything for them again? "Martha's idea is incredible," he said, determination edging back into his voice. "But I want to be a part of this, if you'll have me. I'm here to help." The moonlight through the gym's windows illuminated the room, enhancing the energy. A moment of silence enveloped them all, where hope and possibility collided. They realized they were on the brink of something profound. Just as Sarah felt the warmth of determination ignite, the door swung open. A figure stepped inside, a woman with eyes wide and frantic, breathless as she searched the room. "Tom!" she shouted, her voice sounding like a siren in the stillness. What could be so urgent that it brought her here? As Tom turned slowly toward her, Sarah's heart raced. Would this news throw everything off course, or could it connect them all in a way they never expected? The woman stood there, intense and urgent in her demeanor, her chest heaving as if she had sprinted miles. "Tom, we need to talk now," she said, her voice dripping with a mixture of urgency and anxiety. Every head in the gym turned, tension rippling through the crowd. Tom's expression transformed, moving from surprise to concern. "What's going on?" he asked, stepping closer, as if he could shield her from whatever chaos lingered outside. The murmurous crowd shifted uneasily, anticipation hanging in the air. Sarah felt the pulse of curiosity tighten like a coil in her chest. While she scanned the crowd, she caught sight of Lily, gripping Jake's hand, both of them wide-eyed in anticipation. "Tom," the woman said again, her voice quivering slightly, "it's about your investments. Someone's trying to sabotage everything. We need to address this before it spirals." Sarah's heart raced along with the pounding of her thoughts. Sabotage? Investments? Did Tom's troubles run deeper than anyone knew? Just moments ago, he had been sharing his inspiring transformation with everyone, the reminder of connection, kindness, and rebuilding after loss. "Wait," Sarah interjected, finding strength in her uncertainty. "Whatever is happening, we can help. We're a community. We stand together." The determination in her voice surprised even her. A few brave nods rippled through the room, everyone rallying around as they grasped at this thread of solidarity. "Yeah. We're here for each other," shouted someone from the back. Tom smiled at Sarah, a flicker of admiration warming his features. "Thank you, but this is more complicated than that. This isn't just about me anymore," he replied, voice steadying as his gaze swept across the group. "I appreciate the support, but I must address this week. Can't we come together?" Lily piped up, her small voice echoing through the gym, igniting a light in the room. "We can share stories, and maybe find a way to help you too. It's what you taught us, right?" Tom's expression softened at Lily's words, a rush of emotion flooding his eyes. "Yes, that's true. It's about showing up together." Sarah watched, hope igniting within her, each parent present nodding, stepping forward, brave faces shining against adversity. "Let's combine forces," Martha chimed in, her voice rising with passion. "Let's create a support group for everyone, sharing not just our struggles, but helping each other make a real difference." The waves of encouragement wrapped around Tom, engulfing him in a newfound resolve. "Yes," he agreed, glancing at the woman beside him, who appeared less tense, her expression softening. "Working together could help us all, especially in difficult times. But I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed. It's important that we find balance." Suddenly, Sarah realized that this event was becoming more than just a community gathering, it was evolving into a hub of support. She felt a surge of determination flow through her, a fierce belief that they could reshape their surroundings through shared experiences and collaborative efforts. As conversations erupted, parents began exchanging contacts, setting a tentative foundation. The previously distant faces now aligned together in purpose. The warmth in the room swelled, igniting connections. Lily darted towards Sarah, eyes alight with excitement. "Mom! It's like you always said. This is what change looks like." Sarah knelt down, cupping her daughter's face gently, filled with emotions she couldn't put into words. "Yes, baby. We're in this together. And it's beautiful." Moments turned into hours as they continued to share, laugh, and foster connections beyond the walls of the gym. The energy surged like the flicker of stars illuminating the night sky, each person speaking, giving voice to their stories, forming bonds no skepticism could break. By the time the sun began its descent, painting warm hues across the horizon, the gym felt like a renaissance of hope. Tom clasped Sarah's shoulder. "Because of you all, there's a chance we'll see this through. I see a community forming where love, support, and understanding reign. Let's build lasting connections, not only for now but for our children's future." Martha stood beside them, her demeanor transformed from hardened critiques to a warm ally, her eyes sparkling with newfound determination. "You know," she began, glancing at Tom. "Together, we can lead those stories into action." A collective cheer erupted as the crowd fueled the momentum, inspired by the words of both the millionaire and the girl who was unafraid to speak up. Sarah breathed in, feeling the weight of fear melting away. She had ignited something powerful, something real. As they exited the gym, hand in hand with Lily and Jake, Sarah felt a cohesive bond circle around them, a collective commitment to understanding, kindness, and the unyielding strength that community could offer. But beyond that, this was just beginning. Would they support each other through the tumult and victories that lay ahead? Yes, they would. Life was a tempestuous journey, but together they could brave any storm. And suddenly, Sarah's heart soared. They weren't just surviving anymore, they were thriving, and together, they would transform pain into a tapestry of hope. Now, we've reached the end, but this is just the beginning of what we can achieve together. You need to subscribe now to catch every emotional moment that unfolds in our future stories. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like. You want to miss out on being part of this journey. Comment below with your thoughts on this incredible transformation. Let us chat. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how strength and unity creates change. Let us build our community together.